Okay, let's talk about fear. But I'm not talking about the usual stuff, like public speaking or spiders. No, today we're diving into a much more modern, much sneakier kind of fear. The fear of a single, quiet moment.
I mean, just think about it for a second. Every single free moment, every time you're standing in line, every little pause, it gets filled instantly. We are constantly
streaming the next thing before the credits have even finished on the last one. Or we're swiping through an endless sea of faces and opinions, just looking for that next little distraction. And of course, we're just compulsively refreshing, always looking for something new, for anything at all to fill that space.
And this slide right here, this really gets to the heart of it. For generations, the big fear was failure, right? That's what drove people. But now, for so many of us, the new fear, the thing we dread most, is just plain boredom, the terrifying state of having absolutely nothing to do.
So why did this happen? Well, our whole relationship with empty time is just broken. Silence isn't golden anymore. It's uncomfortable. Waiting for your coffee isn't a moment to think. It feels like this painful waste of perfectly good scrolling time. And to just sit there and do nothing, it feels wrong, almost like it's illegal in our hyper-busy culture.
So, you know that completely fried, burnt-out feeling you get at the end of the day? The source material we're looking at has a pretty shocking diagnosis for that. It says your brain isn't actually tired, it's addicted. It's totally hooked on that constant river of noise and information, and it's just jonesing for its next fix.
So what are we actually running away from? Well, when we run from boredom, we're really just running from ourselves. All that distraction is like a buffer between you and your own mind. And when it disappears, what's left can be pretty intense. Those big life questions you keep pushing aside, the dreams you've put on a shelf, the uncomfortable truths that are way easier to ignore when there's a screen in front of your face.
And this difference is absolutely critical. Failure is an event. It stings for sure, but you'll learn something and you move on. But boredom? That's not an event. It's a state of being. It's a constant, moment-by-moment confrontation with who you really are. And honestly, for many of us, that's a whole lot scarier.
Now we have to be really clear about something. This is not an attack on working hard. There's a massive difference between being productive, doing meaningful, focused stuff, and just being distracted. One is about achieving something real. The other is just a frantic dance we do for one reason, to avoid being alone with our own thoughts.
And right here, this is the real turning point in the whole argument. Just take a second and let this one sink in. The idea is that the most dangerous, most widespread addiction of our time isn't a substance at all. It's a behavior. It's the addiction to constant stimulation.
To really get what's at stake here, let's do a quick little then and now. What did a bored mind do back in the day? Before the age of infinite distraction.
Well, it thought big. It connected ideas in new ways. It daydreamed. It planned. It imagined entire futures. Bored minds created empires. They wrote symphonies. They sparked revolutions.
And now? What's the modern version? What's the default action for a bored mind in the 21st century?
It refreshes timelines. We have traded the potential for incredible creation and deep thought for the tiny, cheap thrill of seeing a new post. The scale of our ambition in those quiet moments has just totally collapsed.
So this all leads to the big question, the one personal challenge at the center of this whole thing. Forget everything else for a minute and just ask yourself honestly, can you sit alone in a room with no phone, no music, no book, with nothing but your own thoughts for just 5 minutes?
Because the implication here is pretty heavy. If the answer is no, if you literally cannot stand to be alone with your own mind, then you've basically handed over the controls. You're no longer the one driving your own life. Something else is.
But hey, this isn't all bad news. Far from it. This is about spotting a new frontier. In a world that is absolutely drowning in distraction, the ability to be still, to get bored, to just think, that's not a weakness. That becomes a radical act. It's a superpower.
So what's the final takeaway? It's simple. The future belongs to the unafraid. And in our age of non-stop noise, maybe the bravest, most powerful thing you can do is to not be afraid of the quiet, to not be afraid of being bored.